Awesome. So we are here with Mike. Mike is a former client of mine, doing amazing in his life right now. And I really just wanted to have a quick chat with him and have him share just a little bit of his story and his journey. He's a family man, successful, just a great all around guy. So, Mike, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, give us an idea of your age range and what you do, man?
Awesome. Awesome. Yep. So my name is Mike. I'm 35 years old, and I live here in Central Illinois. And I've owned and operated a exterior cleaning business for the last 9 years. And this year's my first full year with full-time employees, so that's been kind of nice. And during the wintertime, we do Christmas light installation here in the Midwest. So that keeps us busy almost year round. We got about 30, 45 days off a year. So, yep.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. And what was it that kind of put you in a situation where you were like, man, I might need to partner with JK with this thing that's going on in my life with porn and masturbation?
I hit a point in my life where I could see kind of where I was going, and I didn't like the trajectory of it. Like I knew that I had a porn problem for a long time. Porn's something that had been in my life from a very, very young age. And going down the path and being married with 3 kids, I did not like the way it was headed. So I've always hear people say, that they hit rock bottom. And I did not want to be one of those people that hit rock bottom to lose my wife, family, business, any of that stuff. So that's when I sought out help with you. And, it had been probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, I came across your Porn Reboot podcast. And so then whenever I listened to it off and on, not a lot, and I would hear people doing interviews with you on there. And I thought, oh man, these people are paying a lot of money. They're having these results. Like I can't imagine, ever actually getting to talk to this guy. So then I got online one day and I said, enough's enough. And so I sought out help, and you were one of the first ones that popped up. And I was like, I think I've listened to this guy's podcast before. So then it was just kind of like that little interaction that I'd had with you before from listening to you, that I just felt that connection, and it was like bad. So I was like, I'm just going to contact this guy. And sure enough, we were on the phone, and we were, I was getting the help that I needed.
Fantastic. And when you say enough was enough in terms of time, could you just give us an idea of like how long you struggled with it? And I mean, did your relationship have anything to do with your decision to, seek help?
Yep. On that, I feel like I probably struggled for a long time. And when I say long time, I mean years, because growing up in a Christian faith home, then I always knew that I had, these beliefs, and I knew that what I was doing was wrong. And I always thought to my head, well, this is something that when I'm really ready, I can take care of myself, you know. But there were times whenever something would happen, my wife saw it before on the computer, and then she would ask me to go get help. And I would go get help, but it was for her, for my kids. It wasn't for the right reasons of necessarily that I wanted the help. And so whenever I finally felt like enough's enough, it's time for me to get help, and it was on my own. That's what I told her. I said, this is more about me than it is for you and the kids and anything else in my life. This is for me, and I'm doing it. So, it was a long time, a couple of years, I would say, of I can kick this habit by myself, but I really couldn't.
Okay. I think that's important for everybody who is listening to be aware of. And that was one of the reasons why I actually made the decision to work with Mike one on one, because you said that you weren't doing this for your wife or your kids, that you were doing this basically for yourself. And you told that to your wife. How did she take it?
She wasn't happy with it when I first told her that I
Mm,
was seeking help, because to start the year too, I had went, I was counting my days, and I
yeah.
had went 40, 50, 60 days, and I thought, this is good. But then when you get back and you go down that rabbit hole, man, it's almost twice as bad. And that's when I came back out, I was like, this is enough's enough. And I told her, like, hey, I'm seeking this help with JK. This is what he does for a living. He helps people. I'm going to be working with him one-on-one.
Mm,
And it could take, and I said, and I told her, I said, it could take, 18 to 24 months to kind of rewire my brain to get it to where I see things normally again.
yeah.
And so whenever I first told her that, then she took it as, well, for the next 2 years, you're going to be looking at porn, and I can't get mad at you about that because you're getting the help that you want. And
Ah,
so once we really sat down and talked about it, and I told her that that's not the case at all. Like, I'm completely done with it now,
mm,
and I'm getting the help and doing these exercises that are going to get me to where I need to go. Then, she kind of understood more what I was talking about. But initially, she kind of flipped out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was the system everything you thought it was? What were your thoughts on the system? Was it what you
You know,
experienced?
I went into the system with zero expectations. What little I talked to you, I knew that I was going to be working with you one-on-one. And if you had been, clean of this for however long it was, 10, 12 years, I was like, you know what? That's good enough for me. I'm on board. And so I really went in with zero expectations. Some of the exercises I would get a little bit hesitant to do because you dug into some pretty deep stuff, and I didn't want to do that. But that stuff has helped tremendously to where I am now. And it's been, I'm not counting days, but it's been well over 2 months, 2.5 months now. So, everything's been great.
Okay. And let's talk about some of the value outside of just recovery. What has the value of going through the system and learning how to control your urges, learning how to control your behavior? What value has that brought into just your day-to-day life, man?
Dude, that's a whole different story basically because my
Yeah.
entire life has changed. Um, I would just go through the motions, of everyday life. I would let life basically happen to me. And now I've started with a morning routine and an evening routine. And I've decided that instead of letting, the day dictate what I do, like I dictate the days now and how I control my life, what goes into my brain. As far as just everything in my life has changed for the better. As far as, I now wake up at 4:45 every single morning. I don't use an alarm clock. I basically talk to my brain. Before I go to bed, if it's 10 o'clock, I said, we're going to get a solid 6 hours and 45 minutes of sleep tonight, and we're going to wake up. And, in the last 2 months now, I haven't used an alarm clock, and I wake up usually between 4:30 and 5 o'clock every morning.
Awesome.
And then like I've got a morning routine of an evening. I have an evening routine, and I chart out my day for the next day every single night.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't let the day dictate my actions. I kind of guide it. So that's just been tremendous for me, really.
Okay. And if you weren't doing that, you're talking a lot about the structure of your day and the discipline of preparing for the day before, the night before. Typically, and without going into too much detail, what would happen if you didn't have this structure that you learned about?
You know, in the past, without structure, I would basically, like I said, I would wake up whenever I wanted to wake up. I would get up 6, 7, 8 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
And not only porn, I realized I kind of struggle with a gambling kind of addiction too.
Mm-hmm.
So it would just, if I had 20, 30 minutes here or there, I might be watching porn, I might be gambling, stuff like that, to where
Mm-hmm.
now whenever I look at my day, because it is structured,
Mm-hmm.
I know that this is what I'm doing from this time. And don't get me wrong, there's still times whenever there's nothing to do, or I might have an hour or so, but I've structured it too to where I don't have any apps on my phone. I've been off Facebook now for 2.5 months. My
Awesome.
wife and I, we canceled our cable TV. I don't listen to I used to listen to some podcasts that just weren't, it was just more garbage than anything. So I've just
Mm-hmm.
taken all that stuff out of my life. And so now, even if I have a couple hours that's not structured, I can structure it and find stuff to do that's productive. And with that
Fantastic.
being said, my business has been a lot more successful in the last 2 months because
Yeah.
I'm not spending any energy thinking about these things that were bad for me.
Yeah.
So we've had the two biggest revenue months that we've ever had in the last 2 months in the past out of 9 years. So I
Amazing.
know this all plays hand in hand together.
Yeah. And you're a businessman, you run your company, you're a leader, you're in the community. And a lot of guys watching this, they might feel like, man, I don't know if I could be like Mike and talk about this. And some men might also be like, I still think I can do this on my own. Now, you've got a very strong personality. Okay. You're not a pushover, you know what you want. So, it's not easy for somebody to admit that they have a problem, reach out to somebody for help. What would you say for the other guys out there who are leaders, who run their own businesses, who have very strong personalities, who are thinking like, I don't know, I think I still got this, even when their marriage is falling apart around them. What do you have to say to them? Like, is it worth it to like be in a program like this?
It's completely worth it because for the longest time, for years, I've always thought to myself, whenever I'm ready, I'll just make sure I can do this on my own, not a problem. And so once I finally addressed it, that this is bigger than me, I need somebody that I can talk to about this. And then I started becoming very transparent with it. I sought out the help from you. And even I believe it's truly naive to think that that more people don't struggle with this. Because once I start talking, because you know, 'cause I've got a couple employees, and whenever my wife kind of went crazy, and I sought out their help, and I said, dude, I'm struggling right now. You know, I'm feared that she's going to divorce me, and so I just kind of really opened up to them, and I was super transparent. Then next thing I know, they're both opening up to me, saying, you know what, we struggle with that too. And so now, just being transparent with them and a couple other of my really good buddies that I, you know, and we were a close knit group that we would talk about these things like this before, of porn or gambling, and we did all that kind of stuff. And I realized that I'm not going to say most guys, but a lot of guys in the world struggle with this. And so for me to be transparent, and I'm not transparent with everybody, I don't go around telling everybody
Yeah.
problem, but I can get a feel for people, and just I told my wife here recently, my circle of friends has really decreased, while my tribe of friends that I really interact with has really grown to a strong foundation of friends that I feel like I've got 5, 6, 7, 8 good friends now that I could turn to at any moment and talk and be with. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like if you're struggling, get the help and talk about it. Because once I started being transparent, I feel like the whole weight's lifted off my shoulders.
Okay.
So, yeah,
how would you describe the entire reboot process? We work together pretty closely, like on a day-to-day basis. How would you describe it all, the entire experience, in one word?
Worth it. For the road that I was traveling down, and interacting with you 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day, having our weekly calls, just all of that. I mean, maybe not worth it, maybe priceless. Because to see if I were to keep going down the road I was going, where was I going to end up? And it scared me, and I didn't want that. So, it's priceless, really.
Dude, awesome, man. I'm really proud of you. Do you have any other last thoughts or last words to say about the process that you feel might be helpful to those watching, those listening?
Really, it's one of those things where and also, when I first sought help, it was because my wife had sought it. So I was doing it for the kids, for my wife, for all these things, but it wasn't for myself. When I finally decided enough's enough, I'm getting this help for myself, and for the right way I was raised in this background, like I know what I'm doing is not right. I'm going to get the help, because to go into it not being 100% committed, I don't know if that's truly worth it. I went in 100% committed, like I'm going to burn the house down. This is what I'm going to do. So I really feel like just you truly have to be committed to do it. And then if you make that decision and you're 100% committed, then it's 100% worth it. Because like I said, in the last 2 months, 2.5 months, the way my life has changed is just incredible.
Amazing.
Well, and my wife can. She even says, I've been on this because we've both been in personal development for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And she's like, I've been down this road now for 2 years, and you decide to make this decision, and in 2 months, your entire life is changing. And I'm still working this path. I'm like, you're right, but I don't know what it is, but I was just ready.
Yeah, it was your time to move forward.
Yep.
Do you feel that any of it has rubbed off on your wife? All the positivity, the new discipline. Well, of course, I'm sure sometimes it's some partners, they go like, whoa, you're growing really fast. But what do you see as the positive in terms of your relationship?
In our marriage, I'm not going to say that it's perfect because of the things, and not that I put her through a lot. There were just situations that happened throughout our marriage that now I'm looking back on, I feel a lot of shame and regret for, that I don't necessarily tell her about those things, but she knows because I communicate with her. And so she knows, but our marriage is now, I call it a work in progress. To know, we know it's not perfect, but we know that we're striving for just a better marriage, to be, just have a good marriage and good with our children and have our family the way that we want to raise them. Yeah. So it's a work in progress, but it's all positive. And and she sees that, and she's changing parts of her life around too, because we both realize how social media is the devil, basically. It's out to, don't get me wrong, there's good and bad to social media, but if you're just sitting there scrolling for 2 hours a day with nonsense, then it's, what's the point? So, that's just not looking at porn, no gambling, no social media. I probably have 3 or 4 extra hours a day of free time.
I know you've been putting it to good use.
Exactly. So, yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, Mike, really glad and appreciative that you took some time out of your busy schedule to kind of join us today and share your story. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I'll be following up with you soon, man.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thanks, JK.